There's a special kind of confidence required to look at a roaring snowplow and think, yeah, I can work around that. Winter doesn't create disaster. People do. And somehow, this is only the warm-up act. 1. When a man decided to outsmart winter maintenance by standing in the middle of his cul-de-sac with a leaf blower, declaring himself the human alternative to snowplows, the neighborhood was treated to the rare spectacle of a person attempting to disperse several inches of heavy snow using a device designed to bully a single leaf. He waved that machine around like a VIP directing traffic at a concert no one bought tickets for, and within minutes, the actual snowplow rounded the corner and politely erased all evidence of his labor by pushing a fresh wall of snow directly back onto him. He stared at the drift as if betrayed by meteorology itself, clutching his leaf blower like a knight whose sword had just turned into a wet noodle, and marched inside knowing full well the snowplow had proven once again that winter does not negotiate with household appliances. 2. A driver in a picturesque mountain town believed his all-terrain personality made him invincible, which is how he ended up attempting to pass a working snowplow on a curve that looked like it was drawn by a cartoon villain. He revved his engine like he was auditioning for a low-budget action movie, swung into the opposite lane, and immediately discovered the laws of traction do not care about ego, ambition, or how loudly your truck growls. The plow's blade was calmly scraping the road, utterly unbothered, while his truck performed a graceful sideways slide toward a snowbank that absorbed him with the enthusiasm of a marshmallow engulfing a toothpick. The plow operator didn't even break rhythm, just hit the beacon lights in a gesture that felt like Winter's version of applauding stupidity. And the driver climbed out muttering phrases that suggested he believed the mountain had personally insulted him. 3. A suburban show-off proudly announced he had developed a shortcut method for clearing his driveway using nothing but floor mats from his SUV, tossing them under his tires for traction like he was improvising survival tactics on a reality show filmed entirely in cul-de-sacs. The plan fell apart when he forgot that snowplows treat obstacles, including floor mats, with uniform indifference, and within minutes his entire traction system was neatly scooped up and deposited in a majestic pile of snow at the end of the street. Puzzled, he wandered down the block chasing the colorful mats now embedded in a frozen monument to poor planning. And when he finally retrieved them, they were packed with enough ice to qualify as experimental building materials. He returned home defeated, probably wondering why his SUV manuals never included the chapter titled "Items You Should Not Donate to the Snowplow." 4. A man in a rural area attempted to help the snowplow operator by pre-clearing the road with what he described as his personal plow system, which was actually a lawn tractor dragging a metal sheet, wobbling like a toddler wearing skates for the first time. He puttered along at walking speed, creating a thin, decorative stripe down the icy road that functioned less like maintenance and more like crop art for confused birds. When the real snowplow appeared, it overtook him so effortlessly that the tractor looked like a background prop left in the wrong scene, and a gust from the plow's passing buried him in an elegant cloud of powder. The man sputtered his way out, glaring as if betrayed by the Department of Transportation, despite the fact that his plow system had all the authority of a spoon in a sword fight. 5. A homeowner, convinced snowplows were personally targeting the end of his driveway, built a makeshift barricade from recycling bins, folding chairs, and what looked suspiciously like pieces of an old trampoline, arranging them like a medieval defense line against municipal responsibility. He proudly watched the plow approach, certain his fortress of unrelated objects would send a strong message, only to witness the plow blade sweep through the entire structure with the gentle, unstoppable authority of a bored cat knocking items off a shelf. His barricade scattered across the street, each piece silently reflecting on the futility of resisting winter machinery. As he stood there, surrounded by toppled plastic bins and a bent chair, he declared the town out of control, as if the snowplow had declared war rather than simply doing its job. 6. A delivery driver, apparently tired of waiting for the road to be cleared, decided to perform an elaborate maneuver to beat the snowplow to the intersection, even though he had no working knowledge of plow speed, plow timing, or plow momentum. He attempted a dramatic U-turn, which immediately transformed into a slow-motion spin resembling a confused ballerina auditioning for a performance of Swan Lake Municipal Edition. The plow glided through the intersection moments later, its blade effortlessly redirecting his stalled van into a tidy parking position against a snowbank. Spectators insisted the plow operator wasn't even trying to embarrass him. The situation simply choreographed itself. But the driver stepped out, with a face suggesting Winter had committed a personal crime against him. 7. A homeowner thought attaching a massive patio umbrella to the front of his ATV would create a budget snow deflection system, apparently believing the aerodynamic qualities of outdoor dining furniture would prevail against meteorological reality. The umbrella immediately caught the wind like a rebellious parachute, yanking the ATV sideways until both man and machine slid gently into a decorative shrub. As he attempted to recover, a snowplow turned onto his street, its flashing lights illuminating his overturned contraption like a spotlight exposing a magician's failed trick. The plow made a single pass, clearing the road and brushing a neat arc of snow over the umbrella, sealing it into a frozen sculpture that future archaeologists will probably label early 21st century hubris. 8. An amateur inventor proudly unveiled his homemade snowplow drone, a quadcopter fitted with a miniature blade that looked like it belonged on a child's science fair project entitled, "Why Was This Allowed?" He sent it buzzing into the street like an aggressive metal dragonfly, attempting to sweep snow 1 teaspoon at a time, unaware that drones are significantly lighter than the substance they were meant to push. The drone began accumulating snow until it resembled a confused airborne snowball attempting flight for the first and last time. When the real snowplow arrived, the drone panicked midair, drifted sideways, and gently bonked against the plow blade before falling into a puff of powder. The inventor declared the test promising, which is the kind of delusion that keeps winter entertainment thriving. 9. A neighborhood daredevil attempted to surf the plow wave by riding a sled behind a working snowplow, a plan that displayed the bold imagination of a comic book character and the safety awareness of a houseplant. He crouched on the sled holding a rope attached to nothing, because he never figured out how to actually connect himself to the plow, leaving him skating wildly across the street like a grocery cart with emotional issues. The plow's wake launched chunks of snow at him with the enthusiasm of a pitching machine, and each hit pushed him further off balance until he slid into a snowbank that welcomed him like a mattress made of disappointment. The plow operator reportedly never even noticed the attempt, which is a poetic outcome for someone whose entire stunt relied on impressing a man too busy doing his job to acknowledge it. 10. A suburban dad, fueled by early morning confidence and a brand new snowblower he didn't understand, positioned himself directly in the snowplow's path, determined to clear his walkway faster than the plow could refill it. He revved the snowblower with an intensity usually reserved for dramatic scenes in movies where someone diffuses a bomb under pressure and began carving a narrow path across the sidewalk. The plow rounded the corner moments later, sending a pristine, unstoppable wall of snow back onto his freshly cleared strip like a cosmic reset button. He stared at the new snow layer as if it had personally insulted his honor, fired up the snowblower again, and repeated the cycle until the plow made a second pass and buried him for good. Eventually, he surrendered, trudging inside wearing the expression of someone who had just lost a chess match to a refrigerator. 11. A driver in a crowded parking lot attempted to outrun the plow blade after spotting it turning down his aisle, apparently believing this was a high-speed chase rather than a routine clearing. He stomped on the accelerator and fishtailed across the slush, while the plow advanced steadily at a dignified 5 miles per hour, radiating the quiet confidence of a creature that simply cannot be rushed. The driver's frantic escape attempt ended when he skidded gently into a shopping cart corral, a structure not known for its combat abilities, while the plow calmly pushed a line of snow behind him, creating a frosty barricade that left his car trapped like a dog behind a baby gate. Shoppers paused, unsure whether to laugh or applaud the plow's passive-aggressive artistry. 12. A homeowner decided to confront the snowplow driver after concluding the city was targeting his driveway, a belief formed entirely from observing Winter behave normally. He stormed outside, waving a broom like a medieval weapon, shouting accusations at the plow operator, who was simply following the laws of geometry that dictate snow goes somewhere, and that somewhere is often the end of a driveway. While he delivered his speech about injustice and municipal tyranny, the plow made its second pass, calmly depositing another elegant drift in front of him. He froze mid-sentence, broom raised, looking like a statue erected to honor dramatic overreactions. By the time the plow moved on, his indignation had melted into reluctant acceptance that snow is not, in fact, sentient. 13. A local influencer attempted to film a dramatic slow-motion walk through falling snow with a snowplow approaching in the background, certain this would create a cinematic masterpiece that would propel her into seasonal fame. Instead, she discovered that snowplows do not adjust their route for aspiring content creators. And as she stepped backward into the road to get the perfect angle, she slipped on a hidden patch of ice and executed a surprisingly graceful slide toward the curb, camera still rolling. The snowplow passed behind her by several safe feet, its lights reflecting off her stunned expression in a way that perfectly captured the mood of someone who just realized nature does not care about her upload schedule. The resulting video did go viral, though probably not for reasons she intended. 14. A handyman with aggressive confidence attached a sheet of plywood to the front of his riding mower, proudly referring to it as his micro-plow, and raced down the street at a speed best described as impatient walking. The mower sputtered along as the plywood scraped loudly across the pavement, pushing snow aside in reluctant clumps that looked like winter-shedding dandruff. When the actual snowplow came through, it overtook him so efficiently that the microplow appeared to be operating in rewind. The resulting gust from the plow's wake sent the plywood tilting upward like a makeshift sail, briefly converting the mower into a very confused landboat. Neighbors watched silently as the man slowly turned around, reconsidering every choice that had led him to plow a public street with furniture supplies. 15. A group of teenagers decided to build a snow fort directly next to the street, sculpting it into an elaborate multi-room structure with windows, tunnels, and a level of architectural optimism usually seen in startup founders. They ignored every adult warning about plows, insisting it was far enough from the roadway to be safe, despite the fact that its location could best be described as practically hugging the asphalt. When the morning plow arrived, it shaved the edge of the street with mathematical precision, sending a wave of fresh snow cascading over the fort entrance like a frosty avalanche machine set to humble. The fort remained intact but entirely sealed, transforming from proud headquarters to an accidental walk-in freezer. The teens emerged through a back tunnel with expressions suggesting they had just met the winter equivalent of a dragon. 16. A driver in a lakeside town attempted what he proudly called a strategic sneak escape from a snowplow by cutting across an unplowed parking lot, apparently believing his compact sedan possessed the off-road capability of a documentary wolf. The moment he left the pavement, his car sank into fresh powder deep enough to qualify as a geological feature, instantly halting him while the plow rolled by at a casual, judgmental pace. He waved frantically for help, but the plow operator simply widened the cleared lane, which had the unintended effect of building a perfect little snow berm that fully boxed the sedan into a personal wintry prison. The driver sat inside, calling roadside assistance with the solemn expression of someone rehearsing excuses he hoped would sound less embarrassing out loud, while the plow continued on, leaving behind the unmistakable artistry of a man who knew gravity, snow, and sedans would handle the rest. 17. A man decided he didn't need to shovel because he owned what he called an industrial-strength hairdryer, which was really just a normal hairdryer, but held with the confidence of someone preparing to bend nature to his will. He marched outside, clicked it on, and began attacking the snowdrift with tiny blasts of warm air that melted absolutely nothing except the resolve of everyone watching. The snow responded by doing what snow does, remaining snow, while the plow turned onto his street, effortlessly pushing half the neighborhood's winter back into his driveway. When the man turned around, he saw his driveway now resembled a frosted landfill, and he stood there holding the hairdryer like an actor who realized he'd wandered into the wrong genre. Eventually, he retreated indoors, likely to reconsider the physics of winter and appliances designed for bathroom humidity. 18. A woman attempting to protect her mailbox from the plow created a defensive system involving broomsticks, pool noodles, and reflective tape, resembling a roadside art installation protesting gravity. She was convinced her contraption would redirect the snow's momentum, a phrase that suggested she believed snow behaved like a negotiable entity instead of a substance casually tossed aside by machines built to clear entire roads. The plow arrived, lowered its blade, and in a single pass treated her structure with the same reverence a tornado gives a picnic umbrella. The mailbox survived, mostly because the plow operator had perfect aim, but the defense perimeter scattered across the yard like confetti thrown by a giant with no interest in celebration. She stepped outside afterward to inspect the remains and concluded the plow had been aggressive, as though the machine had emotionally responded to her pool noodle architecture. 19. A pair of friends decided to film what they called a winter drift challenge by doing slow, dramatic spins in a nearly empty parking lot, unaware that the lot was on the plow's scheduled route. Midway through their 10th rotation, the plow entered like an unimpressed referee arriving late to shut down illegal sports, and the friends panicked, attempting to steer away while continuing to drift because they had apparently confused turning with wishing. They glided sideways into a snowbank that cushioned them with the gentle indifference of a beanbag chair swallowing its owners. The plow passed behind them without altering course or speed, clearing snow with the solemnity of a professional who had seen far stranger things, while the friends climbed out of the car rehearsing a story that might not make them sound like people defeated by an inanimate object moving at walking speed. 20. A suburban neighbor became convinced the plow was intentionally dumping extra snow at the end of his driveway. So he began standing guard each morning wearing ski goggles and holding a shovel like a medieval spear. When the plow approached, he attempted to signal boundaries by waving the shovel in a large arc, which the plow operator interpreted, correctly, as someone having an unnecessarily complicated morning. As the plow passed, it created a neat ridge of snow exactly where the laws of road clearing require it to go, and the man delivered a speech about municipal fairness to a machine that had absolutely no emotional bandwidth. The operator, maintaining peak professionalism, simply raised a hand in a gesture that said both, "Have a nice day," and "I am not negotiating with driveway politics," leaving the man to confront the existential truth that snow placement is not a conspiracy. 21. A college student, certain he could beat the snowplow home, sprinted across campus carrying a bag of groceries that were not built for speed. Halfway across the walkway, he hit a patch of packed snow that propelled him forward like a shopping cart shot from a slingshot, scattering his groceries into an arc that resembled a very sad food commercial. The plow turned the corner moments later and helpfully cleared the walkway, including his groceries, into a neat pile against the steps. He retrieved his items from the drift with the expression of someone inspecting evidence from a crime scene, holding a frozen loaf of bread like an exhibit he wasn't sure how to present. Meanwhile, the plow continued onward, blissfully unaware that it had accidentally reorganized the man's entire meal plan into a snowbank display. 22. A self-appointed neighborhood strategist attempted to direct plow traffic using glow sticks, cones, and a whistle, apparently under the impression he had been elected mayor of driveways. He stood in the street issuing hand signals with the gusto of an airport ground crew guiding a plane that never requested assistance, while the snowplow operator merely followed the city-issued route printed clearly on his clipboard. The plow advanced at its usual steady pace, and the strategist jumped aside with a whistle blast that conveyed both authority and mild terror. Afterward, he claimed the operator ignored the new system, as though the Department of Transportation had secretly approved his glow stick management plan. Residents later removed his cones quietly, knowing the plow would collect them next if they stayed too close to the curb. 23. A long-distance jogger insisted winter training built mental toughness, so she continued her route even when the plow was coming down her preferred street, apparently believing she could coexist with heavy machinery through sheer willpower. As the plow approached, she attempted a graceful sidestep onto what she assumed was solid snow, only to discover it was a thin crust over a deeper drift that swallowed her legs like a polite yet decisive trap. The plow slowed to avoid spraying her with the incoming wave of snow, while she attempted to climb out with the dignity of someone escaping an overly affectionate beanbag. She freed herself just in time to jog away at a brisk pace that suggested she would be reconsidering which streets counted as inspirational terrain, while the plow resumed its route, probably grateful it didn't need additional cardio. 24. A homeowner tried to save time by spreading an entire bag of desing pellets across his walkway in one dramatic toss, creating a visible layer of pellets thick enough to qualify as hazardous gravel. When the plow turned onto his street, it pushed a small berm of snow over the sidewalk, burying the pellets just enough to make the surface look deceptively safe. Neighbors watched him step confidently onto his walkway and immediately perform a sliding maneuver reminiscent of a penguin late to work. He regained balance, but stood perfectly still afterward, staring at the walkway like it had personally betrayed him. Meanwhile, the plow moved on, unintentionally creating the perfect suburban metaphor: a man, a walkway, and the crushing realization that shortcuts do not respect optimism. 25. A teenager, thrilled by the idea of extreme winter photography, positioned himself at ground level to capture a dramatic low-angle shot of the plow spraying snow into the air like a frosty fountain. He assumed he would capture a heroic plume of powder, unaware that plows often produce less fountain and more sideways avalanche. The moment the plow passed, he disappeared beneath a wave of compacted snow that gently pressed him into the drift like a marshmallow being tucked into a mug of hot chocolate. He popped out moments later brushing snow from his hair and explaining to everyone that this was basically the shot I wanted, which is exactly the kind of optimism required to continue being a teenage photographer in the first place. 26. A man who prided himself on beating the system placed his garbage bins 2 feet into the street so the plow wouldn't create a snow wall blocking them in. The plan failed immediately because snowplows are not required to adjust for residential strategy and simply redirected the snow around the bins, forming 2 majestic snow pillars that made the bins look like ceremonial statues built to honor recycling. When he went to retrieve them, he found each bin frozen in place like an archaeological discovery, requiring both strength and a level of patience he did not possess. The plow driver reportedly gave him a friendly wave on the next pass, a gesture that perfectly combined courtesy with the subtle message that winter is not a negotiation. 27. A dog walker decided to take a shortcut down an unplowed alley because his energetic golden retriever insisted on adventure. And as many have learned, following a dog's enthusiasm is not always compatible with physics. Halfway through the alley, the walker heard the distant rumble of a plow and attempted to speed up, only for the dog to interpret the sound as an exciting new game requiring immediate sniff-based investigation. The plow approached slowly, forcing the walker into a comedic dance of tugging, slipping, pleading, and promising treats at a future date. Eventually, he scrambled onto a driveway while the dog remained delighted by everything except the concept of urgency. The plow passed with professional disinterest, while the man reconsidered every decision that had led him into an alley with a creature whose sense of timing was governed by smells alone. 28. A city commuter tried to beat an approaching plow by turning left before it reached the intersection, but he misjudged both timing and traction, sending his car drifting gently into a decorative traffic island that was not built to stop vehicles, but was absolutely prepared to embarrass them. The plow rolled past at its regular unhurried speed, clearing snow with the indifferent authority of someone whose entire job is watching people misunderstand winter. The commuter remained lodged against the curb, hazard lights blinking like a small-scale emergency beacon broadcasting the phrase, "I made choices." Pedestrians walked by with the polite, quiet sympathy normally reserved for someone attempting to assemble furniture without instructions. 29. A homeowner, irritated by the plow repeatedly stacking snow against his fence, attempted to redirect the airflow by positioning large sheets of cardboard along the boundary like impromptu wings on a homemade aircraft. When the plow finally passed, the cardboard performed exactly like cardboard in a windstorm. It flapped twice, took flight, and soared gracefully into his yard like a migrating bird that had lost interest in dignity. The snow still piled against the fence, completely unmoved by the concept of airflow engineering, leaving the man staring at his airborne cardboard with the defeated posture of someone whose winter innovation had been rejected by both physics and basic reasoning. The plow continued forward, blissfully unaware that it had crushed a man's cardboard dreams. 30. A family decided to build an enormous snow sculpture at the curb, part statue, part ambitious art experiment, unaware that the plow operated on a schedule that did not include appreciate local creativity. When the plow rounded the corner, its blade parted the sculpture with precision, creating 2 symmetrical halves that slid gently apart like a winter version of a magic trick gone wrong. The family gasped as their masterpiece transformed into twin monuments of almost success, while the plow rumbled by in stoic silence, accidentally becoming the harshest art critic in the neighborhood. Later, the family rebuilt their sculpture farther from the curb, choosing artistic survival over curbside glory. 31. A man who believed he had decoded the plow schedule bragged to neighbors that he could time his driveway shoveling to avoid the dreaded second pass, the one that refills everything he had just cleared. He strutted outside with the confidence of a gambler placing a final bet. And for a few glorious minutes, his plan seemed to work, until a plow from a different route appeared, turning onto his street like an unexpected plot twist. The plow dropped a fresh ridge of snow across his perfect driveway with clinical precision, and he stood motionless, shovel in hand, as though winter itself had personally corrected his arrogance. Somewhere down the street, the plow's orange beacon flickered reassuringly, reminding everyone that the only true schedule in winter is the one written by the weather. And that's winter. Giant machines, tiny judgment. Pick the dumbest disaster in the comments, then buckle up for the next round of human frostbite-level logic. Like, subscribe, and brace yourself.